Hello everyone, and welcome back to day 4 of your journey to alignment, where we are unlocking the pathway to more joy, purpose, and peace in this year to come. I'm Kelly, founder and CEO of Asri Wellness, and we've covered a lot so far, right? So you learned about the 5 signs of when we're not in alignment and what that looks like. You've learned a really powerful meditation to help release anger and stress in just 3 minutes flat. And then you've also learned how to transform your mindset towards success. If you haven't checked them out, don't worry, just check the link below and catch up with us on our journey. Today, we're talking about a very popular topic. We're talking about what is anxiety, what causes it, how to treat it, and more importantly, what's its purpose. And what I'm really excited to do is, if you join me through the end of this video, I'm going to give you 4 ways that you can start controlling your anxiety now. So you don't want to miss this. Also, if you haven't already, definitely grab your Asri habit tracker, because I'm going to be giving you some powerful tools that you can start integrating into your life today that, done consistently over time, if you're someone that's been dealing with anxiety, this will definitely help. So make sure you click the link below and download it. Okay, so let's get into it. So what is anxiety? So there's a really great book by Dr. Ellen Bora, which I've mentioned before, called The Anatomy of Anxiety. And in this book, she outlines that there are 2 types of anxiety. One is purposeful anxiety, right? These are nudges from our intuition. And the second is avoidable anxiety. And much of this anxiety is due to physiological and environmental conditions. Avoidable anxiety actually accounts for 80% of the anxiety that we feel. Now that's a lot. Imagine 80% of the anxiety you feel is not with a purpose. It's because of things in your environment or your physiology. Now that may be a little concerning to some, but I actually see that as an opportunity. That means that through making certain physiological and environmental changes, you can actually reduce your anxiety by 80%. That's a big chunk of it. And then whatever you're left with, that final percent, that's really your intuition that's guiding you, and you can feel more trust in what you feel. So let's talk about what some of those environmental and physiological influences are. The 4 physiological and environmental conditions that contribute to this 80% of avoidable anxiety are sleep, nutrition, exercise, and stress management. I'll explain what each of them are, and I'll also provide you with simple tools and things that you can do to start managing and finding more balance in each of these areas. So, number 1, sleep. Sleep is so important to your body and to your mind. You know, while we're awake, all our systems are a go. They're operating, they're keeping us healthy, they're keeping us awake, they're keeping us alive. We're working, we're walking, we're doing things, we're talking, we're thinking. There's a lot going on for our bodies. And there's no real time to repair or take out the trash, or so to speak, right? So when we sleep and we are no longer active, that's when our bodies and our natural functions that keep us balanced and regulated go to work, right? This is when we start to take off the trash. This is when our liver goes to work, helping to take out all the toxins that we might have come into contact with. This is when our cells regenerate. This is also when our brain has a chance to take in all the information we might have received from that day and put it into something meaningful. Similar to exercise, right? When you work out, you're like, not that I pump iron, but when you have this really intense workout, the most important day is rest, because that's when your body does what it knows to do best. But the thing is, if we're not getting sleep, we're not giving our body that chance to recuperate and that chance to help flush out all the things that don't serve us mentally, physically, and also energetically. So prioritizing sleep is one of the first steps. You know, when I have clients that come to me for dealing with anxiety, one of the first things that we start working on is how to optimize their sleep. And in that, you'll already start to notice an impact on your anxiety. So let's talk about some simple things that you can do to help you prioritize, optimize, and just quite frankly, get a better night's sleep. The first thing is to do just that, prioritize sleep. You know, we all talk about our morning routine and what we do to get up and start our day. I'd like you to start thinking about, what's your nighttime routine? One simple thing that you can do is just start turning down the lights. You know, for as far as we've come in life, we're still pretty primitive creatures, right? We're creatures of habit, and we're creatures very much influenced by our environment. So by simply just turning the lights down low, you know, taking off any harsh overhead lighting, lighting some candles, you're almost simulating exactly what happened to us when we were like living in caves, right? When the sun goes down, things get darker. It sends a signal to your body that it's rest time. So try it out. An hour before you know it's bedtime, just start turning the lights down low and start thinking of things that you can do to start winding down. Maybe that's read a book. Maybe that's have a nice cup of herbal tea. Maybe it's taking a nice hot shower and using lavender scented products to help you calm down. Ideally essential oils. Let's not do any of the chemical things. We'll get into that later. But see ways that you can start to wind down and really take this as a really important sleep and a really important part of your whole wellness process. Number 2, nutrition. Now, we've all heard you are what you eat, but it goes so much deeper than that. Did you know that 95% of your serotonin, which is the feel-good chemical, is actually produced in your gut? You know, and we talk about things like depression and it being low serotonin levels, to know that most of it is actually produced in our gut. So what we eat, it's not so much of we are what we eat, but we feel what we eat. And so understanding this means that you can actually have a diet that supports your mental well-being. So incorporating things like probiotics to make sure you have a healthy gut microbiome is super helpful. Also, incorporating more foods that help to support brain development and help boost your mood. So things like getting your omega-3s, great fatty acids, so things like avocado, nuts, seeds. I also love sardines in the afternoon and also great for your skin. Really start thinking about what you eat. At that same token, things like processed foods, things that are really heavy, hard for your body to digest, things that are very artificial, that have a lot of toxins, things like alcohol, can also have an adverse effect on your mental health. So really try to have that balance. Now, I'm not saying go vegan and do all those things. If you want to, that's fine. But I'm saying understand that the foods that you're eating are also having an impact on how you feel. And so use that as an opportunity to make healthier choices and have things that are going to be really nourishing and supportive, not just to your gut health, but also to your mental health. Now, just a little note, for any of these things, I'm just giving you a few examples, but we can go way deeper. So leave a comment below if there's any questions that you have, or anything you'd like to learn more about, or if you need more support and tools to help you further integrate some of these things into your everyday life. Number 3, exercise. So I know, I've read so many books. I read a lot. I read like 6 books a month. So just like time out, I read like 6 books a month. So I will always be referencing books, and I have tons of great books to share with you guys. Maybe we should start a book club. Comment below if you think we should do that, because there are tons. Anyway, another great book, The Body Keeps the Score. And what we know is we feel emotions, and we have high days, we have happy days, we have low days, we have, good days, bad days, all and everything in between. But the thing is, all the things that we feel emotionally are also within our bodies. And we store a lot of emotions in our bodies, particularly bad ones, right? When you're sad, things like, we hear of sometimes older people, oh, she died of a broken heart. Sometimes those things linger within our system, and movement is the best way to move that energy through us. So if you guys haven't checked out the previous video where I talked about fists of anger, which is a really powerful movement and breath work to help release some of that anger, definitely check that out. Anger, stress, disappointment. So movement's really powerful because it helps us to move a lot of the stagnant energy, emotions that are weighing down in our body. It's also really helpful for our hormonal balance. The reality is, as human beings, going back to kind of our primitive days, we were made to move. We're made to be on our feet. We're made to, whether it's being hunter and gatherers, whether it's being farmers, whether it's, building our own homes, we were meant to move. But most of us live a very sedentary lifestyle, spending up to 8 hours behind our computer screen. So because of this, we have to make a conscious effort to move our bodies. And honestly, it doesn't have to be hard. All I do is just 20 minutes a day of just conscious effort of moving your body will go so far. And bonus points if you manage to do it in the morning. Moving your body is so important. And when you do it in the morning, you actually create alchemy within your body, right? Your body starts to release things like dopamine and endorphins. All of these are the feel-good chemicals that can help you boost your mood. And you get even more of them when it's something that you do at the beginning of your day. So try it out. See what you can do, whether it's Pilates, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's just doing some light calisthenics, on your bedroom floor, whatever it may be. But try to see what happens when you make a commitment to move your body for just 20 minutes at the start of each day. You can also just try to fit more movement in, right? So maybe you get off at a subway stop earlier and walk the way. Maybe instead of taking a cab, you take a city bike. Maybe instead of taking the train, you walk it. Or maybe instead of taking the escalator, you take the stairs. Just see where you can start to add a little bit more movement into your day and notice how you feel. Again, if you haven't already, click the link below and make sure you download the habit tracker so you can track your progress. It'll also help you in staying accountable and making sure that you reach the goals that you set. Number 4, the last one, stress management. Now, most of us are dealing with chronic levels of stress. The levels of stress in our society have never been higher, and it's wreaking havoc on our system. So here's a little biology crash course on your autonomic nervous system. So we have an autonomic nervous system, and it's been really helpful in keeping us alive thus far, right? So when we're in our parasympathetic nervous system, that's our rest and digest state. That's when all of your blood is, going towards your organs, your heart rate is slower, your body's working on digesting, your liver is working on helping detoxify your blood in your system. Everything is just the body is taking care of itself. Now, when something happens and our stress response is triggered, we go into what's known as our sympathetic nervous system. All of the blood rushes from our organs to our extremities, our pupils get dilated, our heart rate starts to increase, our breath becomes shallow. It's like we are ready to go. And this goes back to a time when we were in the jungle, being chased by lions, right? If a lion comes and there's danger, there's no time to sit there and digest your lunch. You've got to run and get out of there, right? We often hear these stories where a baby was stuck under a car and this mom just had this massive amount of strength to lift the car. Its stress response is there to give us the extra boost we need to get out of the way of danger, right? And that's why the blood rushes to our limbs so that we can run faster, we're stronger, our focus is better, our breath, we don't need as much oxygen so we can go even further. And it works when we were in the jungle being chased by lions, right? But that's not the case, at least for many of us. So what happens though is we still have that same response. But this time it happens when we get an email from our boss, right, that we weren't expecting, or in the middle of the night, or we're stuck in traffic, or we're running late, or, we get in an argument with our boyfriend, or, we're scrolling and we see something that's triggering to us. There's so many things, but there's things that are happening in our day-to-day life that are triggering that stress response. Now, most animals, and you might have seen this on National Geographics, when a gazelle in the wild is being chased by a lion and manages to escape, the first thing that they do is shake it off, right? And that's them shaking off the cortisol. Because when our stress response is activated, what triggers that response is a release of cortisol through our bodies. And that release of cortisol keeps our heart rate up. It makes us breathe shallow. It takes all of that blood going to our extremities. It is the chemical signal that it is time to stress. It is that chemical signal that takes us out, that takes us into that fight or flight. And so while animals have this mechanism of shaking that off and re-regulating their nervous system, we don't shake. So what happens for us is we just keep getting bombarded. We just keep getting and adding to all of those high cortisol levels. And this is where we have the term chronic stress. one thing happens and our stress response is activated, and it may go away, but that cortisol is still in our body. And then what happens? So we wake up, we get an email from our boss of something we didn't do, stress response activated. Then we realize we've overslept. Oh my God, stress response activated, cortisol flushing through our system. Then we're in traffic. Stress response activated, cortisol, more cortisol flushing through our system. Then we get to the office and we get some bad news. Stress response activated, more cortisol rushing through our system. And we never have given our chance of time to release, and it's only 10 a.m. And this happens consistently and regularly on a day-to-day basis. And what happens is this is what's known as chronic stress. And what science is now showing us is that these heightened levels or constant high levels of cortisol in our system causes a great deal of inflammation. And so we need to have these mechanisms in place to really help us take the pressure valve off and release a lot of this excess cortisol in our system, and to help bring our bodies back into balance. And so things like meditation, things like the breath work that I showed you guys yesterday are all really helpful. Much of this excess cortisol that's in our system is what's leading to a lot of our feeling anxious. But things like getting adequate sleep is a really great time to help release some of that excess cortisol and help bring your body back into that rest and digest state. Things like moving your body and exercising are other ways to help release some of that excess stress. Things like eating in a way that's nourishing and not building and not over inundating your body with toxins and things that are hard to digest also help relieve and alleviate some of that stress. And also tools like breath work and meditation can also be incredibly powerful and bring you back to homeostasis. Now, as I mentioned, that's 80% of the anxiety that we feel is this avoidable anxiety that are because of these four things, right? The lack of sleep, not eating well, not moving our bodies, and not having adequate tools to managing stress. But that's hope, because these are all things that are within your control. And all you have to do is take these simple steps, like I've shared throughout this video, of ways that you can help mitigate your own stress. And then once we do, and we calm down a lot of that gut-wrenching anxiety that we feel that almost feels crippling to a point, once we're able to relieve the pressure on that and start to feel some release, then we have access to the other anxiety, the anxiety that has a purpose. The anxiety that's telling you when you go into a room that maybe this isn't the relationship for you, or maybe this isn't the career path that you should be on. But until we can kind of clear out all of that other noise and clutter, we can't get to the essence of what our intuition is telling us. So even just as we're on this journey towards alignment to our true selves, to experiencing a life of more joy, more peace, more fulfillment, the first step is clearing away a lot of the noise and the clutter that comes up as our anxiety, so that we can get to the truth of what we want to achieve and who we are, and to really be able to tap into our intuition. So I hope that you've learned a lot, and I'm really curious to hear what are some of the things that you're going to do to start working on easing some of your anxiety. Is it going to be optimizing your sleep and prioritizing it? Is it going to be getting more movement? It could be as simple as just, I'm going to have a glass of water every morning when I wake up. And I invite you to use the ASRI habit tracker to track your progress. Set a goal for yourself, whether it's I'm going to improve my sleep, or I'm going to get more movement, or I'm going to work on better ways to manage my stress, or I'm going to get my anxiety down, and then think of one action that you can take that'll get you closer to that goal. In his book, Atomic Habits by James Clear, he speaks about everyone thinks that to change or transform, it's like to go from like A to Z and to morph into a completely different person. But really, it's the little 1 degree shift that has the greatest impact. It's the 1 degree shift and the 1 degree thing, or the one small action that you do consistently over time that gets you in a completely new destination, right? Think of it like this. If you are in New York and you're taking a plane to Paris, and that plane is going in that direction, if that plane deviates just by 1 degree, it will actually end up in London. So similar to that. So don't think about, I've got to completely transform, I've got to become a vegan, I got to meditate for like 5 hours. I mean, do that if you want to, but I'd rather you think of what is one small thing that you can do, and you can do it consistently over time that will help get you closer to your goal. Think about it, comment below. I want to hear from you. Tomorrow, I will be sharing a really powerful breathing technique that will help you to detoxify your body and also help bring alertness to your mind. It's a really powerful breathwork technique. You don't want to miss it. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we continue our journey towards alignment.